episode, we're going to be diving into the magic of Gemini. And so before we do that, I think it's a great time to really dive in a little deeper to what we're doing here in the Cosmic Conduit and what this podcast is really about.
Yeah. So we've been here a little while. We've got a bunch of episodes under our belts. We've put out, various pieces. We've gone through, working with the energy of Aries, working with the energy of Taurus. We're now on Gemini, moving our way around the cycle of the zodiacal wheel. And so we are literally constructing this whole new way of operating through our lives using the magic of archetypes. And so we're working with the archetypes of the zodiac, but we're doing it in a different way. We're doing it in a new paradigm framework. So you want to say a little bit more about that, Vanessa?
Absolutely. Well, definitely we are moving into a new era of consciousness, what we call the new paradigm. And in our mystery school tradition, we've called it Shambhala, which is this era and this time of peace on the planet where there's more unity and there's more fulfillment and joy and abundance for all people. And it's a really beautiful vision that, we in the mystery school and many people who are spiritual have been looking forward to for some time now, for actually, eons of time. This has been something that's been a prophecy of a period of time to come on this planet.
Yes.
And so as we're moving forward and as we're waking up as a consciousness, as humans, we need a new way to relate to ourselves, a new way to relate to each other. And as we're constantly being bombarded with light or new frequencies on this planet, as our consciousness is raising, like we need a way to orient with that and a way to be, as you said, it's like a new way of being. So we are working with these powerful and deeply ingrained archetypes, and archetypes are templates for how we can be as a human, whether if it's like a hero or a villain or a healer or a leader, that those are some really basic archetypes. But the zodiac can provide us with 12 very specific archetypes that are actually aspects of who we are.
Yeah, and they're actually kind of like set of archetypes. It's like when you work with Gemini, you're not just working with one specific archetype, right? It's kind of like a collective of archetypes that are all related to this kind of particular frequency. And so, like you were saying, with what we're doing here is really assimilating, that what the frequency or what the core essence of each sign really is, what the core energy of each of the zodiacal signs, and then looking to up level the expression of it to its highest arc possible. And that's really what this new paradigm way of being is about, right? Is up leveling. So all of the world is feeling this like it's time to do better. It's time to step up. It's time to evolve. It's time to become, really, we use the term cosmic, and it actually has a couple of different references here. Yes, it's cosmic because we're working with the zodiac and astrology. So for that cosmic sense of, the star imprints, but also it's about us as humans up leveling to the point where we're ready to kind of take our place in a more galactic playing field. We've been so very, very, very earth focused for so long. And it's time for us to really understand that we play a part, we play a role in the larger cosmic structure.
Right. And if you're listening to this, if you're drawn to understand your role in consciousness and your community in the world and make more impact, there's a reason why you're being drawn to that. There's a reason that you're being interested in these particular things. And I wanted to say that, astrology has been around a long time, and those archetypes can kind of shift and grow and evolve. And here we are, we're on the verge of a really big shift in consciousness. And we can see that in a lot of different ways. People are waking up more and more. People are interested in astrology and interested in spiritual things. But if we really are to up level, as you said, Vila, like it's really important that we evolve with and evolve through the archetypes, because the archetypes are alive. And so as we are working with all of the energies of these archetypes, the shadows and their strengths, the goal here is really to anchor and embody like the polished gem version of each archetype. And we get that gift as we move forward through the wheel. So
Yeah.
that is what we're building here in the Cosmic Conduit, the opportunity and the structure and the way for you to become a conduit for the light that's coming in on the planet and to be of service in that way.
Absolutely. And it's like each one of these pieces is sort of a cog in this like larger kind of intelligent machine that exists. Like it already exists. And so what we're doing is highlighting and focusing and kind of reframing how we can work with these different aspects to give us the support we need at this time on the planet. Because let's not sugarcoat it here. Life on planet Earth is not so easy right now. Right? We have a whole series that we've been chatting about, about the challenges of living in the new paradigm. It's not easy. Everybody says, yay, authenticity, yay, we're going to have a different way of being with ourselves and each other, and then like, ooh, the reality of transparency is like
You can't hide anything.
No, you can't hide anything. And so that's where, as we polish, like you were speaking to, polish each one of this sort of the gemstone of this archetypal set of energies, that where then as the energy comes through, it can shine in a way that is pure instead of a way that's distorted and kind of keeps us stuck in our old ways, right? It's like, how can we find these new, pure, pristine ways to take us to the next level? So I love it. This is so good. And I love that we're like teasing it all out and kind of bouncing around because it's very, very, very Gemini. So let's talk about Gemini. So what do we know about Gemini? What is the energy of Gemini about? So when we look at it from just what's out there in the world, what do we know about Gemini, Vanessa?
Well, first of all, Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury. And so that has a really big influence. And like when I relate to Gemini, it's about words and communication and being a messenger. And it's about like the mind and intelligence. And so some of my most favorite Geminis and some of my most favorite people are Geminis, and they're very intelligent, and they're very verbose and have like fantastic vocabulary, and like they're very observant people. Like they're able to really take in a lot of details.
Yeah, and fun to be around. They enjoy chatting it up. They can talk to anybody about anything. Very easy in the world of communication. And I think one of the things to remember about Gemini is it's an air sign, right? So even me going like, woo, where are we? Very immersed in that feeling of like we're kind of all over the map a little bit, because Gemini can be that way. And it's also a mutable sign. So mutable signs are the most kind of variable. And so this is our first experience in the wheel of that mutable energy, and we're getting it as mutable air. And so that's kind of where like Gemini, we're going to, refer to it like that buzzing bee, right? It's a little, bzz, 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 taking data here, get some information over here, work on this, talk to this person over here. Gemini.
Yeah, that's totally Gemini. And the beauty, so I just want to also like rewind a little bit about like what we were talking about before with the archetypes. Yes, like somebody who has a sun in Gemini can be somebody who like really exemplifies and shows us the magic of Gemini. But the beauty of the Cosmic Conduit and the work that we're doing here is that once you learn these archetypes and once you understand the language of the elements, earth, water, air, and fire, and then you understand the 12 signs, the 12 archetypes, you're not constrained or confined to your own chart. You can say, oh, I want to grab some of that Gemini energy because I'm working on, a speech that I'm doing, or I'm working on my public persona and how I speak and what my message is. That's where the Gemini energy is going to be really useful to you. So as you learn, these archetypes and become more fluent in the language of them, then you can actually, create more richness in your own life.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of the magic of archetypes. So archetypal magic is putting those archetypes to work for you in your life. And so we're constantly engaging with these, even in, every day as the earth, moves through the horizon line with each of these signs, every month the moon's going to move through each of these signs. And of course, every year the sun. And then we all have, these influences in all of these different aspects in our lives. So lots of places to engage the energy and put it to work for ourselves when you have some awareness and some facility with it, some capacity,
Right.
some understanding. So one of the things we haven't said here yet about Gemini is that the image, or when we're looking at the sign itself and how it's depicted visually, it's the twins. So it shows this sort of dual nature of Gemini, right? So it's like, which one are we at? Are we here? Are we there? Are we there? What's happening? So what is that to you, Vanessa? What do you understand about the twins in Gemini?
I mean, I think that there is definitely some balancing of opposites and some unity that needs to happen here with the twins and with the two polarities. So those two polarities could be masculine, feminine. They could be also like logic and intuition. They
Right.
can also be like the left brain and the right brain.
Right. Right. Heart and mind. Yeah. And
Heart
like,
and mind.
yeah. So we're these places where we can feel opposition, right? And so this is kind of where, with Aries and with fire energy, we came into the core essence of the spirit, right? And then with Taurus, that earth energy, we came into the first expression of ourselves in the physical. And here with Gemini, we're coming into our first expression through the mental, with the mind and the capacity to
Right.
create thought and to understand things from multiple perspectives, to see. There's a lot of, in the world of Gemini, that's about thinking, seeing, communicating, and being able to move information from one place to the other, right? So what do we have going on here then in the shadow expression of Gemini? So each one of these archetypes, so each set of each sign is going to have aspects where the shadows of these archetypes make it, where this energy comes through and is challenging for us. So obviously one of those, you've already seen me sort of, embody a bit here, which is just being a little bit scattered or distracted. That buzzing bee of Gemini can be a little bit all over the map. What else?
Right. And because we're looking at, this is our first time visiting on the wheel, the element of air, and air is the mind. It's the mental space or mental being. And so, yes, like being all over the place, getting distracted, and then also like focusing on the wrong things. What else?
Yeah, there's a
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, just because you're all over the place, like with the energy, it's like a buzzing bee. It's kind of like there's so much movement and dynamism that it can be like non-committal or hard to pin down.
Yes.
There's a lot of movement.
Right.
And air is all about movement.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes also Gemini can feel a little bit superficial, right? Where it's just like, staying at that surface level. And then sort of taking in data and information just for the sake of information and data,
Right.
So then sort of,
Right.
so that superficial, like looking at things from a very surface level, sometimes when you think of people that are like data heads, where they just spout a bunch of information, where you're like, okay, what's the point? Like, is that supposed to mean something to me? Because it's either irrelevant or, just information for the sake of information, or even, gossiping, right? So like, gathering data and information about people and spreading that around, that can be kind of,
but they're also very
aspect
social too. So the Geminis are very social and friendly signs. So like to take information in your social circles, to be like absorbing all that and taking all that data, like that's related to your social world as well.
Right. But so the shadow aspect then would be kind of disseminating that information in a way that's maybe not very mindful, right? Where it's not really thinking about the deeper layers or the consequences, or being so kind of in the moment of like, oh, la, 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 this is cool, and like not looking at like, oh, wait a minute, when I say this to this person, what is the impact of that?
There's a little bit of like, the dramatist in that too, because Gemini is like great at telling stories. So there's a lot of like storytelling and details that go into those stories.
Absolutely. So here is then from the cosmic conduit perspective, what we're working with here, then the new paradigm anchor we want to really emphasize with this Gemini energy is what we're referring to as integrated intelligence. So let's dive into that more, Vanessa. So starting out with the intelligence piece. So we've talked about it a little bit already, the communication, that messenger aspect, the gathering of information, but what else here?
Well, when in each of our anchors, we have like sort of the core essence of the archetype. And then to bring it into the next level and to up level it into the new paradigm, we've really crafted a specific vibration and a word to up level that archetype. So here we're talking about integrated intelligence. And the way I see that is integrating not beyond just the mind, because we're talking about the human mind here and the chatter of, and the busyness of the mind. And there's all this research done, for specifically even like the Hemisync Institute did all this research about what happens when you take the left brain, which is the logical, and the right brain, which is the more creative, intuitive. When you take those and harmonize them and then we're synchronized and working together, there's a whole other frequency or level of intelligence that's accessed.
Yeah.
And so that is like really what we're talking about here with integrated intelligence. We're not just talking about the intelligence of the human mind. We're lifting that to take both the logical and the intuitive, the left brain, the right brain, and then like the heart and the mind together to lift us up to a different frequency of intelligence.
Yeah. So, and one of those core aspects of the intelligence here in Gemini is really about perception, right? It's about really being able to perceive what's happening in the moment. So using those mental faculties, using that aspect of the mind to assess and to take in and to and do that data collection that we were referring to earlier, but from that place of really perceiving, like, okay, so here I'm in this situation, what's going on here, and a number of different layers of it. So Gemini has that sensitivity to be perceiving multiple layers of the data, right? So it's not just like, oh, how am I feeling physically, but like, oh, what else is going on here? Like or the dynamics between people, like, oh, there's some interesting tension happening in the room here, or like, oh, cosmically, we've got this this influence coming in astrologically and it's causing this sort of impact here. So Gemini has a way of collecting all of that information. And then what we want to do in the integration process is take all of that perception and understand what is the deeper movement with it? Like what's the point? So if the shadow is like information just for the sake of information, this integrated intelligence is like, okay, wait a minute, we want to work magic here. So Mercury, you were referring to earlier, the Greek counterpart is Hermes, the god of magic, the god of bringing higher intelligence from the gods to mortals, right? So what is really important here? What are the priorities? What is the work? What is the magic that's here to be worked? So when Gemini can slow down a little bit and sort of sink into this deeper place of understanding, then that's where that integrated intelligence can happen. So instead of it just, data for the sake of data, it's like, okay, bringing all this in and being able to synthesize it into something meaningful that can then be worked with.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing with all of these archetypes as we go deeper and we start to understand like the purest, highest expression or essence that we can get here as a gift, I'm seeing that it's like taking the innate intelligence of the archetype, but like extracting it and zooming out so that we can see ourselves not just like as human, but as like spiritual beings that are connected to everything, as we make a ripple and make an impact. And like, if you're listening to this, obviously you're drawn to make an impact. You're drawn to make meaning of your life and contribute something. So that's where we're seeing like we're integrating the innate intelligence of Gemini with a possibility of, taking in a broader perspective, because Gemini can get so focused on the minutia and on the details that you
Yeah.
forget that there's a whole other world and layers of dimensions and consciousness that we could be taking into account.
Yeah. And so it's the intelligence of Gemini, but it's also the like Gemini is able to extract the intelligence that's present, right? So, we used the metaphor earlier of the buzzing bee. It's like the nectar that it's, collecting from the flowers, right? That's sort of the intelligence that Gemini can seek to find, right? So when Gemini goes to, gather the data, the information, it can collect kind of useless things that don't really help anything. You come back with a basket full of, like, I don't know, random things and trash, and, like, I don't know, what are we going to do with this? But, like, when you go out and have a basket and bring back all of the perfect herbs and the right,
Hmm.
vegetables or the whatever to, like, create the potion that's going to get you where you want to go, that's that integrated intelligence, right? So it's like, being able to say, here are the ingredients that's going to make the perfect potion for the need that's there. So when Gemini gets disconnected from the deeper need or the deeper calling, that's when it's kind of doesn't really get to
Hmm.
work this, this integrated intelligence magical perspective.
Right. So really it's like being able to synthesize the data from a perspective that's more useful, meaningful, and impactful,
Yeah.
to be able to make a difference with it and to see, because, like, if you're focused on the wrong thing and you have the wrong cause or the wrong direction, and then you're gonna, of course, you're gonna gather the wrong ingredients, right?
Right. Right. Well, and so there's very much that aspect of Gemini that can really tune in. And so and I think that's also part of that challenge of the duality, the twins, right? Because it's like can tune in, but then is also drawn to the next thing, right? So, like, bloop, 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 like, I want to, like, really get the information here, but then, oh, there's the next thing, and so kind of what is that, like the shiny object squirrel phenomena, like, oh, I'm on to the next thing, but rather than, really having a framework, a focus to bring that integration and synthesizing, as you were saying, into something that can be worked with and used. And that's where, engaging, like the planet Mercury, the energy of the god Mercury, the god Hermes, to really assist with that, right? We're like having a bigger picture, goal or aim for what the magic is to be worked.
I like this energy. I mean, you and I are both air signs, so I mean, it's our family here, you know?
It's true. It's true. It's true. Well, we are gonna. So one of the other big emphases in this cosmic conduit, work that we're doing is to actually do the magic at hand. So I've been referring to that quite a bit already in this conversation, but that's what we do. We actually get together on a regular basis, so once a month at the time of the new moon, and we work this magic together. And so, Vanessa and I are both, initiated as guides and priestesses, and in the modern mystery school tradition we have a ton of experience behind us, and leading ceremonies and doing magical practices and working with people, and offering mystery school initiations. So, this is very, very, very near and dear to our hearts, and so we're excited to get to share this format with you, because, it's needed. People need skills. People need skills in how to do this for themselves. They also need a community. And so, one of the things that we're providing is a community. And so you are welcome to jump on in and join us. You want to tell them a little bit more about it, Vanessa?
Yeah, absolutely. So come and join us for our monthly ceremony. You'll meet and get to do ceremony that you'll be guided through the process of connecting with the energy. And we really
Yeah.
hold that space for you, to be able to have an interface with the archetype and the energy of that. A lot of magic really is, um, experiential.
Yeah.
It's like and you need to embody and experience that, and that's how we learn in the mystery school tradition. We don't get a bunch of books and study a lot of books like we do, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is actually experiencing transformation, experiencing energies, and learning to work with them. So that is what we do in our ceremony and, come and be with us and other like-minded,
Yes.
world-changing, impactful, creatives, entrepreneurs, people that want to make a difference in this world and, really take the reins of their own lives in the new paradigm.
Absolutely. And one of the other, really important themes in the world of the new paradigm is also quantum movement. It's not about taking one step and then the next and then the next. And, we're about making leaps right now. This is the movement that we need and are really being called to. And that's where having a community and coming together in sacred space together really gives us the opportunity for more of that leaping. When you're working on your own, it's great. Yes, you can study, you can do your own practice, you can have these things for yourself that are really great and helpful and supportive and strengthening. And when it's time to really kind of bring deeper insight or like higher perspectives, that's really going to come, even easier in the reflection and the amplification of being with others who are doing the work together. And so that is one of the core tenets of our Cosmic Conduit community. And we'd love to have you join us. We actually have an online network. You can become a member and meet with us on a regular basis. So we do our new moon ceremonies. And then we have other times that we get together for live streams. We do discussions kind of along the lines of some of these things, but more so about how is this impacting you in your life? Let's hear about it. Let's talk about it. Let's share and learn from one another.
And the beauty of that is we can meet and we can do this work together no matter where you are. So,
Yeah.
I'm currently in Hawaii and Vila, you're in Colorado, and we do in-person events. But no matter where you are in the country, in the world, if this is a calling that you're really feeling, like we're opening our hearts and our space,
Yeah.
community space energetically to you so that we can do this work together.
Yes. So follow the links, check them out. The link to join our network is right there. We'll have the information about the next upcoming new moon event. If you register for that, you'll get, information about, what's the word? A supply list to bring to the ceremony so that when you log in and you're there in your space, we're going to give you instructions on what you need to do the magic with us. And we're going to take you through the process, along with other amazing people, and we're gonna rock it out. We're gonna rock out this, this new paradigm energy and really building out this cosmic conduit so that you are able to really flow the light that is unique to you to really be fulfilling your unique life purpose.
I love it. I love it. And Gemini energy is so fascinating. I enjoy this energy so much. And we are also going to be doing our next episode on Gemini and Sagittarius, that axis and the dance between those two signs.
Yes. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back with you again very soon.